Sometimes it is not enough to have a single prompt in order to solve your problem. And in these cases, you can try multi-agents. And today we're going to have a look at one library that allows you to create multiple agents. It is called AutoGen and it is developed by Microsoft. So this library allows you to essentially build multiple LLMs with their own unique prompts and allow them to create conversations between them. So this library is available on GitHub and it is very well maintained. It is currently under very active development, as you can see. This is an image from the AutoGen library, and this one explains how the library works in the simplest possible form. Here you have two agents, user agent, and then an assistant agent. And as you can see, this is very similar to what you might do with ChatGPT or GPT-4. You're just asking some questions or adding some prompts, and then you're essentially chatting with the assistant agent, and you're hopefully getting something that you want. This is, again, the simplest possible case, but here is where the AutoGen library actually shines. And let's have a look at this example right here. You can see that this is called the dynamic group chat. And here you might think of something like a developer company or software developer company where you have a project manager, let's say someone who is working on the marketing, developer, and then a QA tester. And in this case, you're going to create a group chat, which is going to contain a lot of the agents that I've just mentioned. And in here, each and every agent is going to have his own prompt and its own tasks. And then if you pass in some task, like for example, let's say you want to build a Sudoku game in Python, then you're going to pass in the requirements to the manager. And then you can essentially have a look at what the other agents are doing in order to complete the task. So for example, the marketing agent might try to start a web page or an Instagram account for the game. And then you will have the developer that is actually writing the code for the game, and then the QA tester, which is actually testing the app, and then the manager is going to oversee the process itself, and you're going to have to, let's say, review the final game. So this is how the AutoGen library works, and I'm going to show you some practical examples next. To get started with the AutoGen library, you can use just pip install to get the latest version. The library is called PyAutoGen, and this will install the current latest version of the library. Next, I'm adding an import to the library, and then I'm adding two classes from it, the assistant agent and the user proxy agent. We're going to use some other classes as well, but I'll show those later in a bit. So other than that, I'm also importing JSON, getPass in order to get some API keys, read the request library, and then pandas. Also, I'm going to show you some images. And the first thing that I'm doing is to add the OpenAI API key. You can get this from your account for the OpenAI platform. And then I'm using AlphaVantage, which is an API key for getting essentially stock and crypto prices and news. I'm going to use this. You can use your own provider if you want to have a look at that. But I'm also providing you with the current versions of those files. I'm adding this news.csv file, Ethereum price CSV file, and then Bitcoin price CSV file. I'm going to show you those in a bit. The first thing that I'm doing here is to create a configuration for the AutoGen library. And in our case, I'm going to use GPT-4. Also, you can use a GPT 3.5 Turbo if you wish to, but the results are substantially worse with the ChatGPT version of the model. And then I'm adding the OpenAI API key. Other than that, I don't want to use any caching, so this will not repeat the responses from the previous requests. And I'm adding a temperature of 0, so essentially I don't want to have any randomization in the generation. So essentially the simplest way to create an agent is to create an assistant agent class. And in this case, I'm going to call it an assistant. This is a very simple configuration. And I'm going to pass in the LLM config. And then I'm going to create a user through which I'm going to pass in the queries. And for this, I'm going to create an instance of the user proxy agent. And from here, I'm just calling it user proxy. And I don't want this to have anything to do with the interaction or the conversation between the user and the assistant. So for that, I'm using human input mode equal to never. So it will not ask me for feedback during the process. And then I'm asking it to create at most 10 replies with between the user and the assistant. And then I'm looking for this termination message. So whenever the output of the assistant contains the word terminate, I'm going to essentially stop the process itself. And then I'm passing in a working directory, which I'm going to just call coding. And in this one, the agent are going to be putting any code, images, etc. So how do you start the process with the AutoGen library? You just have to call this initiate chat method on the user agent in our case, and this will direct the message to the assistant. So this is the assistant that we've created right here. And the first thing that I'm asking is what is the current year? Compare the year-to-date gain for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Tesla. And this is the response that we are going to get. And if you rerun this notebook, that will be available within the text tutorial for ML Expert Pro subscribers. You can see that it is first trying to use Python to get the current year, and then it is getting the Y Finance library in order to get the prices for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Tesla stock. So after installing the library, we fetch the year-to-date gain for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Tesla. And it is writing some code using the Y Finance library. And once this is executing, you see that the execution has failed, and it says that the datetime now or the datetime module is not defined. So it says that it is apologizing for the oversight, and it says that the datetime module was not imported in the second Python code block, and it's going to correct that. Now it has this import, and all of this code is getting executed automatically for your agent. And after this is done, you can see that the response now contains year-to-date gains, but not for Tesla for some reason. And it says that finally the assistant is saying that the code was successfully fetched the year-to-date gain for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Tesla. Here are the results, and these are the percentages, but the Tesla one is not available. And it says that the non-result for Tesla could be due to various reasons, such as lack of data for the specified period or issues with the data source. So in our case, it seems to be a data source issue or probably not able to get it. So the next thing is that I'm asking for a plot to plot a chart of their price change year to date and save the price into a PNG file. And for that, it is asking to install the matplotlib library. And after it is installing it, is doing the imports, then using the tickers, etc. And it is finally saving the figure in the name that I've specified right here, which is great. But after the executions, it says that the tickers is not defined. And it says that the error occurred because the tickers variable was not defined in the Python code book. Now it is defining those, and here we get another error, the data is not defined. And now it is essentially redoing the fetching of the data using the Y Finance library. So this is now the complete script, and it is again fetching the data. It is also adding those comments, which are really helpful. So good job on that. And you can see that the code has been successfully fetched the data and created the plot. Please open the price y2d.png file. And when you open the file, you see this. And as you can see, the price here is not actually very well scaled because the price of Bitcoin is very large compared to the Ethereum price and the Tesla price. So in order to fix this, I'm going to say that I can see the Ethereum stock price on the chart, even though it's not a stock price. And then it says that I apologize for the confusion. The issue might be due to the scale of the prices. So the Bitcoin and Ethereum prices are much higher than the price of Tesla. etc. And then it goes ahead and creates this new plot, which again contains now the Tesla price, and there are cumulative percentage change since the other one was not properly scaled, but you can see that the dates are not properly rotated. And I'm asking it the dates overlap, increase the plot size. Again, I'm using this send method, and it is going ahead, and the first thing that it is doing here is to create a larger plot, and then it is also rotating the date labels. So it is doing two additional changes to the code, and now the new chart looks like this, which is pretty much perfect. And yeah, you can see that the dates are correctly rotated, and the plot is now much larger compared to the previous results. So it's much better looking. So this is the result from this first example, and the agent was quite simple. Let's now continue with something that is called a group chat. And in this case, I'm going to create something a bit more complex. So the first thing that I'm going to do is to get some historical daily prices for Bitcoin and Ethereum. Then I'm going to use the AlphaVantage API to get some news as well. And I'm going to show you what I mean by that. So for example, when I call this function fetch prices and I'm going to pass in days 14, I'm going to essentially get the last 14 days of prices for Bitcoin and then for Ethereum. Please note that this is actually using a cached version of these prices. And if you want to fetch the most recent files, you just have to create or call this with use cache equal to false. Similarly, for the fetch news, I'm just returning the news CSV. And if you want to essentially get the latest news, you just have to comment out these two lines, and this will go ahead and take the latest news from the AlphaVantage. And yeah, these are the prices. And then I'm going to essentially map the functions fetch prices and fetch news so that the agents that I'm going to create are going to be able, or one of the agents that I'm going to create is going to be able to execute these functions. And you are essentially describing the functions within the LLM config. The first is the name, then the description. You are also passing in some parameters, and then whether or not and which actually parameters are required. In our case, we have just one parameter, days, and this is the number of historical dates as an integer. And then for the fetch news, pretty much similar things, where latest n is the number of the latest news articles to get. And you can see those two functions are passed in right here into the mapping. So here is the general analyst that I'm going to use. And now the assistant agent has a system message. So I'm saying that you're a senior financial analyst for a cryptocurrency indicator. And I'm asking it to follow this plan, get news and prices from the engineer. So we're going to create an agent that is an engineer, and then give the news and prices to the bull. So this will be another analyst that is always bullish. And then I'm going to do the same thing to another analyst that is always bearish. And then based on that information, write a report with buy, sell, or hodl along with a number between 0, extremely bearish, and 100, extremely bullish, based on the discussion with the bear, the bull, and your own opinion for Ethereum and Bitcoin. And then I'm asking it to terminate, to end the whole process. And here I'm passing in the system message to the assistant agent, and I'm calling it just an analyst. I'm also passing in the termination message function, which again is looking for the terminate within the output. And I don't want this to execute any code, so I'm just saying false for the code execution config. And next, I'm going to create this engineer. You're a senior software engineer that executes the fetch prices and fetch news functions as requested by the analyst. So this one is going to be pretty similar. It has its own system message, another agent, of course, and it has the LLM config. And then I'm passing in this function map. And this is essentially going to take the fetch news and fetch prices functions. And I don't want to execute any other functions, so I'm going to pass in false here as well. But this will be able to execute the functions that we have. The Boo assistant analyst is going to receive the news and prices, and it's going to find positive sentiment or bullish sentiment within the news and the prices. I have a bear analyst or assistant analyst, if you will, with the same thing. I don't want any of those to be able to execute any code. And finally, I have the user or the admin. So again, as in the previous example, I've shown you that I don't want to have any input within the process. And interaction with the analyst is done through this user proxy. To discuss the cryptocurrency report, the final report needs to be approved by this admin. So I would say that the analyst is going to present the final report to this user proxy agent, which is going to be user, which in case is going to be you. And finally, to wrap everything together, we are going to use this AutoGen group chat object or class. And in here, I'm going to pass in all of the agents, the user, the analyst, the engineer, the bear, and the bull. I don't want to have any historical messages. And then the maximum number of conversation rounds is going to be set to 20, just as an upper limit. And I'm going to create this group chat manager, which is going to be another agent that is going to get the group chat and then the LLM config in order to start the process. So here is the message: analyze Ethereum and Bitcoin based on the latest 20 news articles and the prices for the last 14 days. And then I'm passing in the initiate chat. And this time around, I'm passing in this manager as someone who I'm sending this message. I don't want to have any previous history, just in case you rerun this. And then I'm passing in the message. So again, this is running with GPT-4, and I'm going to show you the response of the whole conversation. So the analyst starts after it is receiving this message. So it is suggesting a function call to fetch prices with arguments days equal to 14. This is coming from here, which is great. And then the engineer is executing the function fetch prices. And this is the response. We've seen that previously. So it is just a text with two tables, one for the Bitcoin prices and then for the Ethereum prices for the last 14 days. And then we have the bear. The recent price data for both Bitcoin and Ethereum shows a downward trend indicating bearish sentiment. The consistent decrease in prices over the past 14 days suggests that investors are selling off their holdings, which could lead to further price drops. Okay, so this is the bear opinion of these prices. Well, it's true, this is the bull, that there been a slight decrease in prices over the past 14 days. So the bull has access to the whole chat this far between the agents. This could be seen as a healthy correction in a broader bullish trend. The high trading volume for both Bitcoin and Ethereum suggests strong market interest, which could fuel a price surge in the near future. So you can see that both of those agents are actually having their own opinion, and they're finding different ways to express their bullish or bearish sentiment. Next, we're going to continue, or the agents are going to continue with calling the function fetch news. And again, I'm also asking for the last 20 articles. So the analyst is suggesting a call to the fetch news and with arguments latest n equal to 20. And again, this is done through the engineer, which is actually executing the function. And this is the response of the function. So you can see that these are essentially the summaries of the API from the news. These are the text. And then we have this sentiment score that is provided to us by AlphaVantage API. So this is also fed through the agents. And based on that, we're going to continue again with the bull. The latest news articles show a positive sentiment overall, with developments like Circle initiative to make USDC accessible to on Polygon, and then some collaboration between Immutable and Amazon Web Services, and Binance commitment to invest in promising crypto services, etc. So the bull is choosing positive sentiment from the news. And then the bear, the latest news article shows a mix of sentiment, but there are several bearish indicators. So it is talking about the bearish narratives. For instance, Bitfinex parent company is considering a 150 million share repurchase amidst rising regulatory attention, etc. Yeah, so it is finding the negative sentiment within the news, and this is the chart thus far. And you can see that this is essentially the final report from the analyst. It is terminating with terminate. And then the report says, based on the discussion with the bull and the bear, as well as my own analysis of the price data and news sentiments, here is my report. So for Bitcoin, the recent price trend is slightly bearish, but the overall news sentiment is positive. The high trading volume suggests strong market interest. However, potential regulatory issues and market volatility could raise risks. My recommendation is hollow. So the recommendation is hollow with a score of 50, indicating a neutral outlook. This is for Bitcoin. And for Ethereum, the price trend for Ethereum is slightly bearish, but the news sentiment is generally positive. The high trading volumes and development suggest a bullish future. My recommendation is hollow with a score of 60, indicating a slightly bullish outlook. So for both of the cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin and Ethereum, the analyst is suggesting that you must hollow those. And of course, this is not a financial advice, but yeah, you can see that the analyst is slightly more bullish on Ethereum, at least according to the news and the prices that I'm showing you, that I'm showing within this chat. So thanks for watching, guys. Please like, share, and subscribe. And you can join the Discord channel that I'm going to link down in the description. Also, you can find the complete text tutorial once it is done that will be available for ML Expert Pro subscribers down into the comments below. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.